Hi guys, today we're going to talk about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing polynomials. So our first one we're going to do is adding and subtracting. So if we look at our first problem, we need to combine like terms. So we're going to start with our our y cubed, and we look through each parentheses to see where our like terms are. So y cubed, 6y cubed, and there's not a y cubed in our third parenthesis, so we're going to add these two together. So we have 1y cubed plus 6y cubed, so we get 7y cubed. Then let's go to our next term. So our next term is x to the fourth, y to the fourth. So we look through our problem and we see that those are the other ones, and we're going to add these two together, or these three together. So negative 7 plus 4, so that would be negative 3. But then we have to be careful for this negative, because this negative will distribute to each of these terms. So negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3 minus 6. So we get negative 9, x to the fourth, y to the fourth. Then let's do our next term. So we have x to the fourth, y cubed. So we're going to say negative 10 minus 1, so negative 11, x to the fourth, y cubed. In this one, when we look at our final answer, none of these three have the same term. So we can't add these two together, so that's our final answer. So let's look at multiplying. This is a trinomial times a trinomial. So the easiest way to do that would be to box them together. So let's create a 3 by 3 box and put each term on the side and on the top. So we have negative 4x squared, negative 5x, negative 1, then 4x squared, negative 6x, minus 2. So when we multiply exponents, remember we add them together. So our first one, we're going to say negative 4x squared times 4x squared. That would be negative 16. And x squared times x squared becomes x to the fourth. So we just add those two together. So then negative 4x squared times negative 6 would be 24x cubed. And then negative 4x squared times negative 2 would be 8x squared. Okay, there we go, 8x squared. So let's go to our second row. So negative 5x times 4x squared, negative 20x cubed. Negative 5x times negative 6x would be 30x squared. Negative 5x times negative 2 would be 10x. And then our last row, negative 1 times 4x squared would be negative 4x squared. Negative 1 times negative 6x would be 6x. And negative 1 times negative 2 is 2. So now we can combine like terms. So if we look, there is no other x to the fourth. So we can just bring that over. So negative 16x to the fourth. And then if we look on our diagonals, you should see that these are all common terms. And then our last one is just our constant. So let's add our diagonals together. So negative 20x cubed plus 24x cubed would be 4x cubed. Then let's do, excuse me, 30x squared plus 8x squared is 38x squared. And 38 minus 4 is 34x squared. 6x plus 10x, 16x, and then plus 2. So right here, this would be our final answer, and because it goes in descending order of our variables. Excuse me. So let's look at dividing. So later this week, we're going to talk about dividing by binomials, but for today, we're just focused on a monomial on the denominator. So the easiest way to do this is to take each term on the top and break it into its own separate fraction. So we're going to say x to the 6th over 5x squared minus, so bring your sign down, then 4x to the 4th over 5x squared plus 3x squared over 5x squared. So from here, we're just going to simplify our exponents, our fractions. When you divide exponents, remember you subtract. So our first one, we have a 1 right here. Our coefficient is 1. We can't do anything with 1/5, so I'm just going to leave that 5 on the bottom. You don't have to write the 1 because it's assumed to be there. So then let's focus on our exponents. So 6 minus 2 is 4. So we're going to say x to the 4th on top. It's on top because the exponent is positive. And I'm just going to fix that 5 right there. So then let's go to our second fraction. So this 4 over 5, we can't do anything with. So we're going to leave it alone. Same thing with our exponents. 4 minus 2 is 2. So we have x squared on top. And then lastly, this 3/5, we're going to leave it alone. And right here, x squared minus x squared, 2 minus 2 is 0. So those cancel. We can't do anything. There's no exponents or variables there. So then if we look, our fraction here has 5s on the whole denominator. So I'm just going to simplify this down to one fraction to put it back to kind of like how our original problem was. So I'm going to keep a 5 on the bottom, and then on the top, I'm just going to write my terms using the addition and subtraction. So x to the 4th minus 4x squared plus 3, and that is our final answer. So what I'd like you to do now is flip your paper over and try this problem on your own. So pause the video, come back, and then when you're finished, check your answer. Okay, let's go over the answer. So I'm going to divide these fractions or put them separately. So 4x squared over 2x plus 8x cubed over 2x minus 5x over 2x plus 1 over 2x. And once again, I'm going to take each fraction and simplify the coefficients and the exponents. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. X squared minus 1, so 2 minus 1 is 1. So that means there's 1x. So right here, we don't have a denominator other than 1 because we simplified everything down. We do not need to put 2x over 1. We can just leave it as 2x. Let's do the next one. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. So x squared. So same thing here. We don't have a denominator other than 1, so we don't need to write it. We can just leave it as 4x squared. Then minus, we cannot simplify 5 halves. So we're going to leave it as 5 over 2. X minus x goes away. So these two x's will just cancel out. So we just leave it as 5 halves. And then our last fraction, we don't simplify at all. There's nothing to simplify. So we're going to leave it as 1 over 2x. So now here, if you notice, there is not a common denominator between all of these terms. So what we're going to do is just leave it like this. And that's our final answer. Okay, guys, thank you. Have a great day.